right, without further ado, this young lady hails from the Southern California area by way of a house up in the up north. My God, I will say it's up north. And I mean, it's beautiful. My God, her and her husband got started in the bit. Well, they got started in the business. She was a single mom when she met Mr. Tony, handsome, debonair, strapping young man. Had a construction business. She's been in the hair business so long. I'm trying to get her to do my hair now. Has a beautiful home. I mean, my God, that picture, that oven she has in the backyard, that pizza oven, just absolutely amazing. I was watching a program the other day, and this family had one in their backyard. I thought of Miss Jocelyn Driskill, and I said, "Man, that's beautiful." Without further ado, I just want to give her all the time she needs this morning. Take care, everybody. Put your seatbelt on. Let's get started. None other than the Regional Vice President Platinum, the one and only. You know, she's with us every Monday in the month of August. The great Jocelyn Driskill, Regional Vice President Platinum.
How is everyone? So great to see your bright, shiny faces on a Monday morning. Thank you, Mr. Thomas. You bring the light and love, as I always say, to our space. And I love it being that I am with you, all of you, on Monday morning and feeling it first. So thank you so much. And you guys, I hope that song blessed you. That is a song that I gave to Jabri for the month of August, as it hit my spirit when it came out, and I knew it was something we needed to play during my openings on Monday. And I hope it blessed you, and I hope it continues to bless you, and share it and pass it around the world, because it is a very special message that Danny Goki and that collaboration brings. So Mr. Thomas, there is nothing more that anybody else keeps saying about you. You are a blessing always. Every single moment of your life, you show up for yourself, and which shows up for each and every one of us, being such a great example of life well lived, and someone who truly is a giver, not a taker. He is a giver, and that just keeps giving him back tenfold in life. I know that for sure, and he knows that as well. So Mr. Thomas, I appreciate you and all that you do, and giving me the blessing of being able to speak into lives here. I don't take that for granted. It's always an honor. So thank you. So I'm excited to share my message today. I have prepared it. It came to me, as I said to many of you last week, that many of my messages for this month had already come to me prior, so I was already ready, but honing it in and spending some time on it. I actually had the last 4 days of the blessing of being with my 4 grandchildren and enjoying the time with them, working simultaneously, but I always take my precious time, put my phone away, and really know that God's given me such a blessing, Tony and I, with our grandkids, and they light up my world. In fact, one of my grandson and my little grandson and my little granddaughter, I need to share this with you, gave me a moment on one breakfast morning, sitting over here at this table, that totally affirmed in my life how strong my faith is, and how powerful our example is to our children and our grandchildren. If I can get through this without tearing up, I wasn't even going to share it, but I guess I need to share it really quick because it's coming to my spirit, just rushed right in. So, and maybe this actually, it ties into what I'm going to talk about today, because my grandson and my granddaughter are eating breakfast, their favorite eggs and bacon and toast that grandma fixes for them. They were watching their show on the big screen TV, and I'm sitting there next to them while they're eating, and my grandson turns around, and I'm going to preface this before I tell you what he said. My grandson actually, at 1.5 years, and some of you know this, had to have heart surgery. He had a hole in his heart the size of a quarter. The surgeon thought it was the size of a dime until they got into surgery. Twice they had to go. They replace it with this thing called a grommet, and it's a mesh thing, and it goes down through they take it through the the vein in your leg, and all the way up. It's amazing what they can do today, all the way to his heart. And when they found that it wasn't dime size, they had to do it again in the left side. He's a year and a half. And since then, you know, he's 7 years old today. There's other things. He came out shining and happy and great and everything, and totally healed. That heart has grown over the top of that grommet, and he is totally healed, and it's amazing. But just before in June, my daughter and son-in-law's wedding, their mom and dad got married in June, and he got sick. We didn't know what he was sick from. 104 temperature. He had to go in the hospital for 3 days. They did spinal taps on his spine to see if it was meningitis. They tested him for everything. They couldn't figure it out. They took cultures. They had to wait 3 days to get actually the results. Bottom line is he had post-mono, but he was so miserable. So it was such a tough time for him. And he kept saying, why do I have to always get sick, right? The 7-year-old. And then right after he started to get well and got out of the hospital, week before the wedding, broke out in a complete rash, even his lips. Okay. And he was just in suffering and just, you know, not feeling well, but his faith, I'm going to tell you what, he stood strong, and all I could do was pray, right? We can't change anything. We can't change it. We can't make them better ourselves, but we can love, we can pray, we can do all those things because we know who can do that, right? Who does come with the healing. And so I'm sitting there, and my grandson whips around in a second, in a flash, he whips around and he says, Grandma, God told me to tell you, thank you for praying for me. That's what he just whipped around and said that. And this emotion and rush came over my life and my soul, because I knew it was an affirmation for me, knowing that I was on my path, that I was making the right steps, and that God was working through me, and that my grandson knew he was being prayed for and his healing came from above. So what a special thing to be able to say. And then my 4-year-old granddaughter says to me, you know, God hears, God knows. Like, oh my goodness. In fact, you guys, I had to, let's see, if I took a piece of paper and I had to document what they said to keep it for myself, because that just was everything. So I hope that maybe blesses you to know that when your prayers are so intense and intentional, he hears you, he knows you, he's with you, and he wants the best for you. And people feel your prayers like my grandson did. So I'm glad I could share that with you. But what I'm going to dive into now is I want to talk to you about something that's really, really important for everyone to know, because we can learn all the skills in ACN. ACN is such a blessing. The skills are, you know, you heard from one of the greatest legends in business and in network marketing on Friday. And you hear from Mr. Thomas. You have him every single day. And I hope all of you know what a gift that is, who teach you how to have success here in this business with the skills that are very simple to hone. But if you don't start with some things that your mind and your heart need, as you're growing your skills and you're growing your life, because if you've never done a business before, even if you have done a business like Tony and I, we come from traditional business, hairdresser for 27 years, own my own salon. My husband, high-end residential home builder, has had that successful business, took a tank in 2008. How do you come back from that? How do you come back from losing everything? Because some of you have lost everything as well. We're one of millions of people that lost everything back in 2008. And what's happening today? How do you come to the table differently? How do you come to the table with knowing that you could do this business like Mr. Thomas and Mr. Nelson, who gave you such an incredible, with Tammy Williams and Stephanie. There's these individuals are honing their skill. But I believe, knowing a few of them personally, they're connecting to this. And that's this. Let me show you. Share my screen here. Let me ask you a question. The question is, who's really the identity thief? Who's really the identity thief? You see me pointing. As we offer identity theft protection to cover our identities, as we know how important this service is, not only in our portfolio of services is what we can do for others out in the world to protect their identity. But I'm not talking about that identity. I'm talking about the identity that we seem to tag on ourselves throughout our life. And I want to share a video with you. It is Ed Millett again, understanding how powerful his message is, because there are 3 things that he talks about that can shift your identity, because many of us look at our identity as our job, our spouse, our children, even our grandchildren. We tag ourselves with, like, my job is I'm a general manager for such and such, or and we live with that identity for years. See, I could have said that throughout my life, that, you know, I was an assistant manager for the limited company. I was my dad's office manager for an incredible architecture firm. And I could say, that's who I am. That's not who you are. You are not your job. You are not you are a spouse, but they don't give you your identity. You got to connect to your identity to find your worth, your value, who you are. And when you find it, then all the skills that you are honing here in this company will take you to the next level in this business. And I want you to trust me, this is true. So let's dive in really quick to what Ed has to say.
What most of us think is, I'll feel better about myself, or I'll be more confident when I get that job, when I get that relationship, when I get this amount of money, when I get that house, when I hit that home run, when I'm hitting a certain average, right? And so you're always chasing your tail. If your identity and your confidence is contingent upon producing a result that has not yet existed, it's pretty difficult to catch it, isn't it, if you have to have it to get it in the first place? Hi, it's Ed Millett, and I'm going to give you a strategy today that's going to help you be more positive and contribute in the lives of other people. See, here's the thing. If you're feeling helpless, one of the antidotes to feeling helpless is to get more helpful. And one of the ways you can be most helpful is to raise your own identity. Our identity is the core part of our lives. We're not going to outperform our identity. Our identity, best said, it's the thoughts, concepts, and beliefs we hold to be the most true about ourselves. It's really the invisible force in all of our lives that holds us back or can accelerate our success, our bliss, our achievements to whole new levels. If you look at identity, if you think about it, it's almost like it's a life thermostat. See, in this room right now, there's a thermostat sitting on that wall right now. And if it's set at 75 degrees, this room is going to be regulated to 75 degrees. No matter what the external conditions are, it could be 100 degrees outside. The external factors do not impact the internal thermostat in this room. It's 75 degrees. Consequently, also, if it was 40 degrees outside, the heater will come on. It'll heat this room to 75 degrees. That's how your identity works. It's the internal thermostat of your life. And that's why very often, let's say that, you know, relationships or financially, you're a 75 degreer. And if you ever notice in your life, as you start to heat life up a little bit, it starts to go pretty well. Maybe your relationship's blissful and loving and incredible, or financially, you've increased your results. You're at 80, 85, 90, 100 degrees of success financially or in business. And then it just seems coincidental, but somehow, some way, the air conditioner kicks on in our lives. You know, a car breaks down, an event happens, we lose an account, something takes place, and all of a sudden, we look up and boom, life's back at 75 degrees of relationship, of money, of business. That wasn't by coincidence. It is the regulator of your life, is your identity. And so if you can do all the right things, all the activities, all of the thinking, all of the execution part, but if you don't increase what you believe you're worth, if you don't increase that identity, that thermostat of your life, you will find a way to cool your life back down to what you believe you deserve. And so one of the keys for me in my life is not just getting better at the mindset of life and the execution of business or strategy, but raising that identity so that I'm at 85, 90, 100, 120 degrees, so that I believe I'm worthy of, as my execution and my thinking reaches the same level, that thermostat setting, that life setting will change. It's not the external conditions of our life that dictate the terms. It's that identity. It's that thermostat setting. So we got to get more helpful if we feel helpless. And the way we do that is by increasing our own identity, that thermostat setting. That sounds great, doesn't it? So how do you do that? Well, I call it the Holy Trilogy of shifting one's identity. And that is faith, intention, and association. That's the three things you must work on in order to increase your thermostat setting. Number one, faith. For me, it's the center part of my life, is that I have a God who loves me, that believes in me, that wants to see me successful, wants to see me prosper, wants to have favor in my life, wants me to feel comfort and peace. And so I find oftentimes it's interesting, people of faith, sometimes God's in their life Sunday at church when they're worshiping, or they're in Bible study, or when they're eating a meal, they'll pray over it. But somehow when they walk into a business meeting, a speech, a boardroom, a client environment, they leave God at the door and they think they're on their own. So for me, if you're a person of faith and God is with you all the time, and he loves you all the time, and he comforts you all the time, that includes business. That includes every area of your life. It includes him wanting to bless you with a great relationship, bless you financially, bless you to the best of your abilities in business. And then whatever the other, if you're an athlete watching this, bless you in that at bat, over that putt, catching that football, hitting that shot. And so number one source of shifting your thermostat setting is reconnecting again with your faith and allowing yourself to feel it inside all the other environments that exist. Then there's number two, there's your intentions. See, I don't think enough people give themselves credit for having great intention. There's a power to intention in our lives. And so what most of us think is, I'll feel better about myself, or I'll be more confident when I get that job, when I get that relationship, when I get this amount of money, when I get that house, when I hit that home run, when I'm hitting a certain average, right? And so you're always chasing your tail. If your identity and your confidence is contingent upon producing a result that has not yet existed, it's pretty difficult to catch it, isn't it, if you have to have it to get it in the first place? Instead of saying, maybe I ought to get credit and I ought to be worthy of more because I intend to do well. As a young man in business, I started to figure out, I may not have all the answers. I may not be the smartest, the best looking, the most articulate. My IQ isn't 250, but I intend to serve. I intend to make a difference. I make mistakes, but overall, I'm a good person who wants to do good in the world, and I should be favored because of that. Not enough of you are giving yourself credit for your intentions. You want to shift your identity overnight? Connect with your faith. You want to double shift it? Connect with your intentions. So when I go into a business meeting, or I go into a lunch, or I'm going into any type of encounter, even in my golf life, in my sport I play, I remind myself that I've got a God who loves me, who wants me to win, who wants me to be blessed, who wants me to be favored, who wants me to feel peace. Number two, I intend to do good. I'm a decent human being. And you know what? Good things ought to happen to good people. And then third is association. You are who you hang around. See, if you're a 85 degree or 75 degree financially, but you start hanging around someone, say like myself, who lives at 140, 150 degrees of finances and wealth and abundance, you will get heated up by proximity to somewhere in between the two of us and a lot closer to where I am than where you are. Same thing in relationships. If you want to have a great loving relationship in your life, but you're living at 75 degrees in your relationships, you start hanging around people who are in loving, beautiful relationships, your thermostat setting will increase. Same within your faith life. If you want to start walking with more faith in your 75 degrees of faith, if you start hanging around people who walk their faith life at 100, 150 degrees, you'll be heated up through proximity. And so these are the three things we do in order to shift our lives. Our identity is the governor on our life. It is the most powerful force in the world. It's the invisible force that governs everything, is that thermostat setting. And then if that's true, the way we shift it is always going to be our faith, our intentions, and our associations. And those associations are so huge. I know you've all heard you're the product of who you hang around the most often, but look at the last 90 days of your life, okay? And ask yourself this question. Other than, say, your spouse or children, who are the 2 or 3, 4 people you've spent the most time with? Picture their faces in their lives right now. And then I want you to measure one thing. What's their emotional maturity like? See, what I find with all successful people is they have a degree of emotional maturity that other people are absent of. So I always measure, what's their emotional maturity? How do they handle success? How do they handle failure? How do they handle their lives? Then ask yourself this. These 3 or 4 people you've been around, can you immediately name 2 or 3 things that they have in their life in an area that matters to you? Let's say it's money. Let's just say it was money. That they have that you don't have that you wish you did have? Or in relationships, can you name 2 or 3 things in their relationships that they have that you wish you had? Or in business? Or in their physical body? And if you can't immediately go, yeah, they got 2, 3, 4 things, man, I would love to have that in my life, then I'm not so sure that that's the person you ought to spend the most time with. The reverse question is also, hey, can you name 2 or 3 things they have that you definitely don't want? When you look at their financial life, if finances are important to you, do they have 2 or 3 things going on in their life financially you definitely want no part of? Or in their relationship life, you know, if you want a better relationship, if you look at the relationship, there are 2 or 3 things like, I wouldn't want that relationship. I don't like the way he or she treats them, or they get treated. You can look at that. Or their physical body. You want to be in really great shape. You look at them. Do they have 2 or 3 things about their health or wellness that you don't think are really great? Well, that's an immediate sign maybe they're the wrong people. And so taking an evaluation of who your associations are they emotionally mature? Do they have the 2 or 3 things you would like to have in your life they have in theirs that you'd like to get heated up and get? Or do they have 2 or 3 things you want to avoid? These are signs that you should be away from them. So the way we get more helpful is we increase our identity, and we increase our identity by working on our faith, our intention, and our associations. If you do those 3 things, I believe you're going to live happier, you're going to help other people become happier, you're going to make a contribution in people's lives that's deeper and more meaningful than you've ever made before. And by the way, lastly, that's what you were put here to do. You were put here, you were born to do something great with your life, in small ways and big ways. You were made to do something awesome with your life. Maybe not all of it's going to get limelight or notoriety, but you were born to make a difference in the world. And the more you realize that, the more you step into your intention, the more you step into the person you're capable of becoming, the more you just decide, I'm raising that thermostat setting. I'm no longer this other character I was playing. At any point, you and God are the authors of your life. You can grab the pen and start to write a new chapter and say, I'm stepping into this new character. Their identity's higher. They're more faithful. They focus on their intentions more often. They improve their associations, and they help people. Well, I hope I'm doing that for you. Quite frankly, that's why I exist.
All right. Your identity. Amazing, right? So understanding where your identity comes from, because the reason I started off, who's really the identity theft? It's us. We take it away from ourselves and the world, right? We let the world tell us who we are. That's not who we are. We're not what the world tells us. And I step into talking to you about that in the beginning, about our spouse doesn't give us our identity. Our children do not give us our identity. Our jobs do not give us our identity. Our businesses do not give us our identity. Our identity comes from Christ, and that's my world. I want to remind everyone, I come from a place of authenticity and how I am where I am today. If that is okay with all of you, stick with me, stay with me, because this is the truth that I live with every single day as I journey through the ups, the downs, the challenges, the obstacles. I'm going to tell you why I'm here today, why I am a regional vice president at ACN, and RVP is not my identity. RVP is not my identity. SVP will not be my identity, nor is it Mr. Thomas's identity. It is who we are before we stepped into ACN. And it's who we decided to believe to be when we stepped inside of ACN. We have become more as we have journeyed and been challenged in obstacles through ACN. ACN has been an incredible platform for us to elevate our lives and to understand who we are as an impact to this world because of ACN. ACN is not our identity. And I believe why people leave incredible opportunities like ACN, and I believe it's the only incredible opportunity out there. I'm just biased, right? But I believe even some of you know some of the top people in the company leave because they don't know who they are. Their identity has been stolen from them, and they have allowed it to happen, and they walk away from the greatest gift that they have ever been blessed with, and they forgot where it came from and who they are. Do not let anyone in this world steal your identity. You got to walk every single day single-handedly knowing who you are, your worth, your value, and protect it. Yes, we all have identity theft protection through ID Seal. It ties in here, right? But I'm telling you, we have to protect our own identity by by aligning ourselves with those three key things that he talked about. So I'm going to go into that. It's the Holy Trilogy. Write it down, put it in a circle. All right, it's called the Holy Trilogy. The three things to shift your identity. Faith. Faith is the number one source. It should be the center part of anybody's life. That's my belief. Obviously, that's Ed Milet's belief. I know 100% that is Mr. Thomas's and Mr. Nelson's belief. So if you're hearing it from some people who have had huge success in business and in life and have overcome more challenges than you can possibly imagine, I would start here. I would totally start here. This number one piece, as he talked about, it needs to be the center part of your life. God wants everything for us. Do you bring him everywhere? He talked about bringing him into business. That's why I call myself, and I know others on here, a kingdom entrepreneur, because he comes here. Mr. Thomas, I know that's exactly what he does. He comes here every single day, and every single thing he does, and regardless of what it is, and business is one of them. Reconnecting God and faith inside of all your environments. Everywhere you go, bring him with you. Just as sitting here at the table with my grandson, and my granddaughter, I brought him right here. He's always with me, and he proved to me that he is always with me and my kids, right? So faith is the number one. So if you want to shift your identity, faith, number one source. Second, intentions. Number two source, the power of your intentions. Let's talk about intentions. He talked about the part where it can't just be when. How is it going to happen for you if you're just waiting for when? I mean, that's backwards if you think about it. How can it happen for you if you don't do something with your intentions in it, that action to get the results, whether it's doing the business and going into action and getting your results in your relationships, right? In your marriage, it doesn't matter what it is with your kids, your intentions have to be solid and they have to be continued. So it's not when my grandson decides to tell me that. No, it's before. I did all of that before to receive that response. That just affirmed my walk, right? So it's not when I hit SVP. No, I can't hit RVP, RD, SVP until I intend to and put my actions to it. So it's not when I do, it's in the now. It's now, N-O-W. Write that in big letters on your paper. It's in the now. So it's not I intend to serve, I intend to make a difference. We all make mistakes. We all make mistakes. You didn't intend to make a mistake, but with our intentions and in our move through life, you're gonna make mistakes. You're not perfect. We are in an imperfect world, right? So we're imperfectly perfect. God created us in his own image, but in this world, we are not perfect. So we are going to make mistakes and be okay, but give yourself credit for your intentions as you move with these three things into the next steps of your life. Overall, you'll say, we know you want to do good in the world, right? You should be favored, right? We must give ourselves credit for our intentions and speak life to them every single day so that you are actually doing the actions. Intentions are one thing. So you're setting your heart right, you're setting your mind right with your faith, a part of both of those things, right? And then you're doing the intentions, you're intentional about what you're doing, moving forward with your actions to gain results. Then he talked about associations. Man, this is powerful, you guys. Associations are so impactful to everything you do in your life. If you look around you, are you associating with the right people in your sphere of influence? Yes, if you show up here every single morning, Monday through Friday, Monday through Sunday, and stay connected, you're surrounding yourself with the right people. But on a daily basis, every 5, who's in your house, who's outside of your house that you talk to all the time? Like, are you putting your effort and time and your associations? Are they going to evolve you? Are they going to grow you? Are they going to be a part of you emerging in life, showing up differently? Yes, you need to be an example to those who aren't there yet. That's important. But how much time are you giving to these associations? So he talked about heating up by proximity, right? Heating up your life by proximity of, you can cool it down or you can heat it up. That's a choice we all get to have, because here in this world, we have a choice and we get to choose who we hang around and spend our most time with. So you can heat a thermostat up to, like he said, the 100 and 140 for your financial needs, your spiritual needs, your relational needs, all the different things, and who you are to other people. You can raise that up by being just in proximity, right? Heating it up. Or you can cool it down. Which one do you want? But it's a choice that you get to choose, because it's the same. It's true for both ways, right? It's true for both ways. So then he said, ask these questions to yourself. Sorry. The allergies are going bad here. What is the emotional maturity of the 3 to 4 people you are around? I want you to write down the names of the 3 to 5 people. Let's do 3 to 5 people that you are continuously around every single day. Some of you have already made some of these changes. So name those people, because that's going to change your life. But if you look at it, he also asked you, can you name 2 to 4 things they have you want to develop in your life? So write those down. So the 3 to 5 people that you have named, I want you to write down 2 to 4 things that you want that they have that you can develop in your life. If you can't say yes, I would love to have that. I'm not sure you should be spending time with them, right? You got to remember, you have to protect your identity, because we get lost in other people. If you spend too much time in, let's just say, crap, listening to crap, let it overwhelming everything that you do. People come with you with drama. There's so much that this world brings. And those people will constantly do it if you allow it. Now, I've coached this. I've talked about this with people. We get what we allow. So it's not about putting up walls in your life. You can't put a wall around your identity, but you can put a boundary that actually elevates your identity. Boundaries are different than walls. The walls, if you guys have some walls that you don't allow, it's really hard to penetrate to get to you. Like it's actually hard in your heart. So you got this wall. So your identity is actually being covered. People can't see the real you. You got to give them a boundary. See, we allow people to walk over that boundary every time they bring us drama and and all of this. We allow it. They hurt us and they do the same thing over and over and over again. Remember, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result, and we don't get it because we're doing the same thing. I say that about business. I say that about a job. We think it, we get a raise in our job and we think it's going to change everything. It doesn't change anything. It just gets you at a higher level of broke, you guys. Now, I'm not knocking a job. Work your job. If you love doing it, let's put more effort over here so that at some point you can keep doing that job, because it's not about the money, and that's not your identity. Your identity is not office manager, catering manager, general manager, vice president of sales. I don't know. It's like, that's not your identity. You got to change something for something to be different. And ACN is different. That's what Tony and I saw, that we could step into a world of something that has already been proven, and we could put our work ethic, our desire, and everything, our why behind it, because our why was huge. We lost everything. And if we could do that, we could create something not just now, we could create something long term. So we decided to shift and realize our identity doesn't lie as a general contractor. Our identity didn't lie as a hairdresser, cosmetologist, both very successful. That's not who we are. That's just what we do. That's what we did to create where we were at the time. But ACM brought us to a place where we could increase our identity, not as an RVP, not as an SVP, but we could take all the gifts that God has given us inside of us and unleash them to create something long-term for yourself, that you could create your own life and put you around people of faith. Put you around people who have great intentions, who will work those intentions every single day. They are an example for all of us, who put us around the associations that increase and put us in the proximity of elevating our life financially, right? They show us that it's all possible. They are special because they are created in the image of God, but so are you. Stop living in the identity of being a mom, being a wife, being a dad, being a husband, being a grandparent, being an office manager, being this, being that. That's not about who you're being. Who you're being is who you're becoming. What you're faithful to, knowing He has so much more inside of you. And here in ACN, you can create anything you want to create. There is no limit to what you have your hands on. Most of you don't even understand that piece. I understand it, even though I'm not there totally, right? I'm not there. I'm just taking my journey and I'm doing everything I'm teaching you here. I have continued to do that. As people leave, as you know, my upline, senior vice presidents and RVP, one of a few that have left. And I told you why. They lost this. They lost their identity of whose they are, not who they are, whose they are, because your identity comes from there. And when you lock into the faith and the intentions and who you're associating with, life will change. I want to share something with you because Mr. Thomas sent this message and many of you got it. Those who work with him, he sent it to me this morning and I'm like, this is perfect. This is part of exactly what I'm talking about today. When you start seeing your worth, you'll find it harder to stay around people who don't. Because that's another thing that happens. We stay around people and individuals who do not elevate our life. They all they want to do is bring you right where they are. They don't challenge you. They don't bring you, you know, they don't talk life and speak life over in you. They continue to take. Remember what he said in the beginning? To be helpful. What does he say? You have to what is that? I can't remember how he said it. But anyway, if you want to have help, support, and be elevated, you got to be around people who understand your value and your worth and your identity of who you are. You'll find it so much harder to stay around the people who don't when you see your worth. You got to believe in your worth and who you are. And it's got to go with you every single place you go. Our identity is the invisible force. You can see that's one of the superhero movies, right? She can move energy, right? The force, right? Or the force be with you, like Star Wars, right? That our identity is the invisible force that holds us back to achievement. Our identity is the invisible force that can bring us to our achievement. When you understand the power of this invisible force, your achievement will skyrocket. So you got to increase your belief. Know your worth. Know your identity is your thermostat of life. So you can choose to get into the hundreds and beyond, or you can choose to go 75 and below. That's a choice that we're all given. Success does not happen to you. It happens because of you and what you believe. Success does not happen to you. It happens because of you and what you believe. Increase your belief. You've heard this been shared from many, many trainers over the months about belief. But if you finally understand how true this is, to gain back your identity and know the value and your worth, you will change the world, one person at a time, starting with you. Understand that. You and God are the authors of your life. This is me actually signing a book that I was a co-author in and finishing up this book over here that God brought to me. I'm not the book. That's not my identity. But he has given me an identity to know and believe I can be an author and I can make an impact with what I have to share. And I got to believe that every day, because I come with knowing whose I am. Your identity is in him. Never forget it. Take the pen and begin a new chapter. You get to write it with him if you choose. You were born to be great. You were created to make a difference. Never, ever forget it. I believe in you. Mr. Thomas believes in you. Now it's you deciding to believe in you, no matter where you come from. If you're new here on this leadership call, I hope this has blessed you and given you an insight to understanding how valuable you are. Your identity means something to Mr. Thomas and to myself. I'll tell you that. I'll speak for myself, because coming alongside of each and every one of you who understand this and will take it and run with it, we can do so much more together. When we understand our identities and we come together, this is what Ed was talking about. We can do so much to change this world. We never have to worry about the White House. You've heard me say that before. We start in our house. It's our house that matters, not the White House. And our first place to start is our identity. We can't teach our kids anything, and our grandchildren and future generations, and impacting lives of, you heard me talk about butterfly effect last week, until we start with us. Until we see who our value is. How can you go tell somebody how valuable they are when you don't believe it yourself? Believe in whose you are. Bring your faith, your intentions, and build those associations like you've never built them before. Be intentional or being around those valuable, worthy people that want to breathe life into you, like showing up here every morning at 8:50 or 8:55, not 9, not 9:05, not 9:10. No, intentionally be on time. Remember, on time is late. Let's see, being early is on time is late, and being late is unacceptable. When you can start changing and showing some of these things in your life, your identity will just open up. So those three things are your Holy Trilogy: faith, intentions, associations. Find yourself writing the next chapter of your life. Take the pen. I'm going to repeat it. You were born to be great. You were created to make a difference. And that's what I see as a kingdom entrepreneur, is really, truly understanding your identity and whose you are, and break the chains of all the labels that anybody and yourself has put on you. And with that, Mr. Thomas, I'm going to stop share here, and I'm going to turn it back to you. And I thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to bring this message.
I must say, today was a chills going down my spine as you brought this message of hope to let everybody know they're in the right place, the right time. And they, meaning us, we need to start believing in ourselves. Forget the outside forces. What are you telling yourself? You know, first of all, folks, let me tell you something. God does not make junk. He made you perfect in his image. And you have a responsibility. Number one, what she says, Take the pen and make today a different day than ever before. Next, she said, you were born to be what? Not mediocre, not to get by. You were born to be great. And the third thing she says, you were born to make a difference. As Greg Parmesan would say, draw the line in the sand and step over it and don't look back. Today is your first day. It's a new week.